This is a tale of a tiger named Red, and why you should never let anyone tell you who or what you should be. To listen to your heart and follow your dreams is a really good idea, as in this story you shall soon see. When Red the tiger was young and growing up in Tigerland, there was a fact of tiger life he couldn't understand. Can it really be the case, Red asked, can it actually be true, that to merely hunt and eat and sleep is all we tigers do? Perhaps we could play baseball, or learn to cook Chinese, hang ropes from high tree branches and go swinging through the trees. We could organize a theater group or form a marching band, even build ourselves a roller rink. Now that would be just grand. The other tigers rolled their eyes and laughed and roared, "Hey, Red, wherever did you get such crazy notions in your head? Whoever saw a tiger play baseball or cook or act? We tigers never do such things, and that's a tiger fact." So for a time, Red tried his best to do just like they said he should, and obey the stuffy rules of good and proper tigerhood. But as the weeks and months went by, Red felt his spirits sag, for to merely hunt and eat and sleep soon got to be a drag. Red decided he must first learn how to read so he could understand the manuals and how-to books he'd need to learn to do and make the many things he thought he might. And so Red studied hard each day and late into the night. Red learned to skate on rollerblades and then to drive a car. He taught himself to cook Chinese and how to play guitar. And then one day, while strumming, he did a fateful thing. Against all rules of tigerhood, young Red began to sing. Within a week or two, Red could read as well as anyone and began to do all sorts of things no tiger had ever done. He learned to do neat magic tricks and how to paint and draw, and built the biggest, highest flying kite you ever saw. Meanwhile, the other tigers were quite angry and disturbed. "It's bad enough Red sings all day, but this is just absurd. He skates and bakes, he drives a car, he's gone completely nuts. A tiger's not supposed to drive, a tiger's meant to prowl, and tigers surely mustn't sing, we're all supposed to growl. By doing these non-tiger things, Red's breaking all our laws. He's a disgrace to his tiger stripes, a traitor to his claws." The other tigers let Red know he must no longer sing or bake or drive or cook Chinese, for good and proper tigers just don't do such things as these. "But why?" Red asked, bewildered. "How can it be so wrong to bake a cake or drive a car or sing a little song? They're simply entertaining things that make life so much fun and don't do a bit of damage or do harm to anyone." "That's not the point," the tiger said. "It's just that rules are rules, and we've been taught from early age in our tiger schools to merely hunt and eat and sleep is the proper tiger way, and that's the rules of Tigerland. There's nothing more to say." Red heaved a sad, despairing sigh and said, "What shall I do? I'd like to be a good and proper tiger same as you, but to merely hunt and eat and sleep is such a crushing bore. That can't be all there is to tiger life. There must be something more." And so that night Red packed his bags, then early the next day bid fond farewell to Tigerland and sadly drove away, with no idea of where he'd go or what might lie in store, since no tiger had ever traveled beyond Tigerland before. Red drove far beyond the jungle, over hills and grassy plains, through warm and sparkling sunshine, through cold torrential rains. Red drove until one morning he found himself rolling into a great big modern city that no tiger had ever been to. The only tigers people knew were living in their zoo or in the traveling circus that now and then passed through. The people were quite startled, flabbergasted, and astounded. To see a tiger driving by, their wonder was unbounded. Some stared in awe, some laughed in shock, but most were terrified. They screamed and ran away, or else just stood there, petrified. But Red was quick to let them know they had no cause to fear him. He smiled and waved and shouted out so everyone could hear him, "Oh, please don't scream and run away. I promise I won't eat you. I'd simply like to say hello, and that it's great to meet you. My name is Red the Tiger, and I've traveled far and wide in hopes of finding some place where a tiger might reside. A tiger, to be precise, who likes to drive a car and cook Chinese and rollerblade and sing and play guitar. At first the people didn't know quite what to say or do. Then finally someone said, "Come on, Red, this can't be true, that you can really play guitar and sing and cook Chinese, since no one's ever seen a tiger do such things as these." "Why, sure I can," said Red, "and by golly I can prove it. That is, if you would not object or strongly disapprove it. I'd be glad to sing a song for you, and after I have sung, prepare you my beef chow mein or yummy egg foo young." Indeed, the people thought that it was more than just all right. "That was really great," they cried. "Fantastic. Out of sight. We think a tiger who can sing and play guitar as good as this should absolutely, positively be in show business." Red soon found himself a manager and signed a fat contract to sing his songs in Vegas in an opening stage act. The audiences loved Red's songs. They cheered and cried for more. Soon every record company was pounding on Red's door. Red's record shot right up the charts, straight to #1. His concerts sold out everywhere, but Red had just begun. He soon was making music videos, which the critics did agree were the absolutely finest ever seen on MTV. Red's second record album, "I Am Tiger, Hear Me Roar," hit sales of 7 million, 9 million, maybe more. And as his fame spread round the world, Red's concerts soon began, filling giant stadiums from New York City to Japan. Then came the crowning glory of Red's budding new career. 10 million fans elected Red Best Artist of the Year. Then naturally, considering Red's awesome fan appeal, Hollywood came calling with a major movie deal. Red co-starred with the lovely Isabella Rossellini in the smash hit gangster movie Don Vito Tigerini, then played the leading role in a cast of 50 stars in the epic sci-fi thriller The Tiger King of Mars. So many things to see and do, and yet so little time. To just sit back and miss them all would really be a crime. So when he wasn't working, Red traveled far and wide, trying lots of other things no tiger had ever tried. Red sailed a sleek white schooner across the China Sea. He bought a racing car and won the Dutch Grand Prix. Red dined with kings and queens, played golf with presidents. It seemed that every week Red set new tiger precedents. Red tried his hand at football as a tight end for the Jets, but was more adept at baseball, playing shortstop for the Mets, and became the only tiger, or any other kind of cat, to hit a grand slam homer, his first major league at bat. Red visited the Pope in Rome and taught him how to dance. He learned to ride a bicycle and won the Tour de France. Red flew a supersonic jet around the world non-stop. Red even climbed Mount Everest, first tiger to the top. Red longed to visit Tigerland, but felt he surely couldn't, because he'd done so many things the tigers said he shouldn't. "I've broken every tiger rule from A clear through to Z. I'm sure they wouldn't want to have a thing to do with me." Red might have never gone back home had it not come to be that Tigerland was threatened by a great catastrophe when a bunch of rich tycoons in a faraway boardroom hatched a plan which for the tigers would most surely spell their doom. "This Tigerland's the perfect place to build a big resort with posh hotels and shopping malls, a modern jet airport, great weather, lovely scenery, a beautiful blue lake. Just think of the enormous sums of money we could make. We'd clear away the jungle, making room for country clubs, tennis courts, golf courses, big casinos, and nightclubs. And of course those silly tigers will also have to go, since they'd only scare the customers or eat them up, you know. We'll round up all the tigers or chase them far away or sell them all to circuses or zoos. What do you say?" The other rich tycoons then clapped and cheered. "Oh man, what an absolutely super-duper money-making plan." Soon the tigers back in Tigerland were startled and confounded to wake up one fine morning and find themselves surrounded by hundreds of steam shovels, big bulldozers by the dozen, and several thousand lumberjacks with chainsaws all a-buzzing. "What the devil's going on here?" the tigers roared and growled. "Don't you know that here in Tigerland trespassers aren't allowed?" Then from their long black limousines the rich tycoons climbed out, and their leader in a cold, harsh voice began to loudly shout, "Now listen up, you tigers, I'll tell you how things stand. We're going to build a big resort right here in Tigerland. But we don't want any trouble, that much you must believe. So do us all a favor now. Please, pack your bags and leave. No way, the tigers shouted. For our homeland we will fight you. If you try to build your big resort, we'll pounce on you and bite you. They waved their claws, they snarled and hissed, their fangs they fiercely bared. But the tycoons and the lumberjacks were not the least bit scared. Get real, they laughed and hooted. What good are fangs and claws against bulldozers, steam shovels, and thousands of chainsaws? We'll give you till tomorrow morning, then you'll have to choose. Skedaddle far away, or we'll put you all in zoos. The tigers then retreated and debated through the night, some saying they should run away, some saying they should fight. And the oldest and the wisest tiger rose and said, I fear the only sensible solution to our plight is plainly clear. For all our feline prowess, our courage, and our pluck, we're hopelessly outnumbered, outmachined, and out of luck. For if we stay and fight them, we most certainly would lose, then have to spend the rest of all our lives pinned up in zoos. But meanwhile, far away, as luck and chance would have it, while browsing through the business news, as was his daily habit, Red came across an article on how the tycoons planned to build their big deluxe resort in lovely Tigerland. Chop the jungle down, Red roared in shock. Make all the tigers leave? This is simply too impossibly outrageous to believe. It's horrible, it's terrible, an anti-tiger crime. I must find some way to stop it. I just pray I've still got time. So Red called on kings and presidents and other heads of state to help him rescue Tigerland before it was too late. Then he held a big press conference and appealed to all his fans to join him in the fight against the tycoons' wicked plans. But Red, a news reporter asked, why should you really care, since you're so completely different from the tigers living there? They branded you an outlaw, they cruelly drove you out, which makes me have to wonder what you're so upset about. It's simple, Red responded, though for me they may not care. They're still my fellow tigers, the only family that I've got. And regardless of how far away from Tigerland I roam, in my heart it will forever be my dear, beloved home. And furthermore, Red added, it just simply isn't right for the tigers to be robbed of their traditional birthright. Tigerland's their proper home. They always have lived there. To take it all away from them is cruel, unjust, unfair. So that is why I'm asking you, my faithful friends and fans, to help me put a stop to all these evil, nasty plans. You know it isn't right or just. I shouldn't have to beg. So if you're with me, let's get going. Time's a-wasting. Shake a leg. Back in Tigerland next morning as the sun began to rise, the tigers sadly packed to go with tears all in their eyes. But as they gathered up their things, their dear homeland to leave, beheld an awesome, wondrous sight they scarcely could believe. Down every road to Tigerland there came a mass influx of people packed in buses, cars, the backs of pickup trucks, while thousands more poured out of jumbo jets and private planes, landing everywhere on the surrounding fields and plains. Soon their numbers were so great that you could never count them all, as all together they joined hands and formed a vast and mighty wall, between the jungle and the lumberjacks and all the big machines and the befuddled rich tycoons all huddled by their limousines. What's going on? The tycoons all began to scream and shout. What are you people doing here? What is this all about? We've got important work to do. You're getting in the way, and so we'd take it kindly if you'd all just go away. Then from the crowd Red stepped forth, standing proud and tall, and answered back, I do declare you guys sure have some gall. What makes you think you've got the right to steal the tigers' land and tear down all their jungle for this big resort you've planned? We find your scheme quite selfish, rude, and downright inconsiderate, and so we'd take it kindly if you'd stop and reconsider it. After all, you wouldn't think it fair or find it very funny if someone were to steal your home simply to make some money. But actually, Red ended, and I speak for all of us, there's really nothing here to quibble over or discuss. Since we're not going anywhere, we all intend to stay right here until you take yourselves, your lumberjacks, and big machines away. In face of such a mass display at righteous indignation and all those frowning faces full of fierce determination, the rich tycoons could only snort and swear and stamp their feet, for any fool could plainly see that they were completely beat. They never for one moment dreamed that anyone would care so much about the jungle and the tigers living there, but here was living proof, and of the most compelling sort, that they'd be wise to find some other place to build their big resort. Not wasting time, the tycoons and the lumberjacks then crammed back into their limousines and big machines and scrammed. And when over the horizon the last bulldozer disappeared, the crowd roared out in triumph. They laughed and danced and cheered. The eldest tiger then stepped forth and to the multitude proclaimed, "For saving our dear home you have our deepest gratitude." Then someone in the crowd yelled back, "You're welcome, but instead, the one whom you should really thank's your fellow tiger, Red." It was Red who brought the tycoon's wicked plans to our attention and got us all to join him in this timely intervention. If not for Red, the tycoons would have done just as they planned, and by now there'd no longer be a place called Tigerland. Upon learning their salvation was Red's doing, as was claimed, the tigers couldn't help but feel embarrassed and ashamed to think how they had taunted Red and said he was no good, a most improper tiger, a disgrace to tigerhood. And yet for all of that it seems that Red remained true blue. To them and to his home, and having saved them, now was due their apologies and warmest thanks. But first they had to ask, how was it Red had managed such a monumental task? Then they listened in amazement as some members of the press told them all about Red's triumphs, his fame and great success, and how Red was adored by friends and fans from every land who'd been glad to come and help him save his dear old Tigerland. The tigers shook their heads in wonder, for they never would have guessed that a tiger could achieve so much. They truly were impressed. Indeed, it got them thinking that perhaps they'd all been wrong to say a tiger shouldn't drive a car or act or sing a song. For if Red hadn't done these things they said he really shouldn't, he wouldn't have had all these friends and fans, and then he couldn't have possibly been able to save Tigerland this way. So it seemed these things Red likes to do must somehow be okay. And the more they thought about it, knowing Red had had such fun doing all these crazy things no tiger had ever done, that perhaps they'd like to try them too, if only that they could, without breaking all the rules of good and proper tigerhood. And the eldest tiger said, "I think Red's given us good cause to maybe make some changes in our stuffy tiger laws. Red's achievements and his loyalty to us have changed my mind as to how a good and proper tiger cat should be defined." From that day on in Tigerland, new rules were put in place. All tigers could now drive or cook or sing without disgrace. In fact, they could do anything they set their hearts upon, as long as it was safe and didn't bother anyone. And Red, of course, was welcomed home, the hero of the day. Indeed, the tigers hoped Red would forgive them all and stay right there with them in Tigerland and teach them everything he'd learned to make and do, and even be their tiger king. "I'd be honored to," said Red, "and of course I do forgive you, but yet I fear I cannot stay, for even if I live to 100 years or more, that won't be time enough to do the several thousand things I'd like to try before I'm through. Besides, I've gotten used to life in great big modern cities, with all they have to see and do, and all their fine amenities. And what's more, I've been invited to go traveling toward the stars as a crewman on the world's first manned and tigered flight to Mars. So I hope you'll all forgive me if I leave you once again. But I'll surely not forget you, and will always be your friend, and will come back here to visit you every now and then, though I'll be so very busy I can't say exactly when. But perhaps when I've returned to Earth, you'll come and visit me, and hang out at my mansion, a most pleasant place to be. Or what's better, I'd be thrilled if you'd accept my invitation to be my honored guests for a luxurious vacation. You could join me on my schooner, and together we'll explore the wonders of the 7 seas, from Spain to Singapore. We'll tour the world's great cities. I'll show you all the sights. We'll dine on quiche and caviar and other rare delights." For the most part, all the tigers thought Red's idea sounded great, and felt such keen excitement they could hardly wait to accept Red's invitation and to also try their hand at those other things that used to be taboo in Tigerland. But a few still felt reluctant and would be content to keep to their old traditions and just hunt and eat and sleep I mean, honestly, one muttered with a chuckle. I mean, sheesh, who ever heard of tigers eating caviar and quiche? Yet nonetheless, most tigers soon thereafter had begun to learn to drive and skate and sing and have all sorts of fun. And when you hear a tiger sing, the song would likely be one of the selections from Red's latest hit CD. And when they gathered one fine evening atop their highest hill to gaze off in the distance and share the special thrill of watching Red's Mars rocket ship into the night sky climb, 3 cheers for Red, they roared, the greatest tiger of all time. I'm sure you would agree, along with people everywhere, that Red is quite a wonder, a tiger most extraordinaire. And yet when he was asked what he owed his great success, Red thought a bit, then shrugged and said, "Just being bored, I guess."